Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of CModel Data, but today we have an inspiring leader in digital media innovation and authentic content creation. Her name is Greta. She's the founder of Marker Video. Greta leads an authentic UGC platform that connects real creators with brands focusing on genuine, not just any, but genuine product reviews and video content that enables creators to earn money. Greta, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful. I would love to learn more about you and about Marker Video.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to have the chat and talk to you all about it.
So listen, let's dig in. Can you start? Tell me more. Tell me about your why on Marker Video. Why is this a thing? Why did you get started? And tell me a little bit more about your customers and why they might even need Marker Video.
I started a startup platform back in 2018, which was Blog Marketplace. My background was in publishing and content marketing and stuff. Before that, I just was bartending and waitressing. But so I basically had this thought that, there's a lot of blogs out there that weren't being monetized, and so many people had written great content on parenting and food and drink and travel or whatever it was, all evergreen stuff that didn't really date. And so I built something whereby you could upload your back catalog of blog articles onto a platform. It would tag it and it would index it, and then I would sell that out to businesses who needed blog content. That was called Marker Content. We got customers straight away. We had 100,000 users within like 6 months. We had 250,000 pieces of content that we were selling out. It was a very simple marketplace that worked really well. Then ChatGPT came along, and very quickly it became really hard to justify selling stuff that the learning language models or whatever did extremely well. And I suppose that was my first big kind of decision, I guess, in that I could see the writing was on the wall. We had money in the bank. We had a great team, but I was getting feedback from like potential investors and customers and stuff that was like, but wait a second, you're charging $20 for this where I can get that, I can get that for way cheaper.
Yeah.
Really tough call because I was very in love with that company and I was in love with the idea and the business. But I got to say, okay, I have to respect my investors. I have to respect the team. How am I going to make this work? How am I going to hit this headwind that I didn't see was going to come, this kind of overnight headwind, and figure out what to do next? So I basically dug deep into the data and I looked at what was going on in content marketing, in the world of marketing. Video was coming out on top of everything. Influencer marketing was kind of on a bit of a decline because people didn't like that it was scripted and it was all gifted. And so I thought, like, surely there's an easier way to do this. Why can't people just review stuff that they own and they're genuine reviews of products that people are actually using and actually loving, and they don't have to be influencers and they don't even have to have a TikTok or a following. They can just be a random person like your dad who's, I love this new air fryer or something. We would sell those videos out to the brand that they mentioned, and that brand would use that video as an ad. And they'd be able to say it's an authentic review. It's one of our customers. We didn't give anything away for free. We didn't tell them what to say. So I designed Marker Video based on that idea, I guess. And it went from there. I mean, it's been live about a year. We went live with an MVP, a minimum viable product, meaning we just wanted to validate and verify that it would work. Yeah, very quickly we got users, we got customers. I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how many brands I spoke to that were like, yeah, I mean, we need this yesterday. I mean, it would be so great to just have a library of videos we could choose from our real customers that we could then use as ads. And I suppose the value of the company is that we take in hundreds of videos. We reject about 60% of what comes in because they're not of a good quality. We give feedback to the person and say the reason it was, the wrong size, or it was too blurry, or you didn't mention the product or whatever. And then we check for their bank account to make sure they're a real person. In the last few months, we've started building tech, which is kind of a new problem. This AI influencer is a bit of well, it's about to be a big problem. That people aren't trusting them. Brands are getting in trouble for using them. So our technology is basically guaranteeing that it is a human. And that's kind of liveness checks makes, because what you can do is like, Tesh, you could be like, oh, I'm going to upload a video of myself talking about like my favorite mascara. And then I'm going to make my AI avatar make 100 videos about different brands. And then I'll make, $100 per video. So we have to make sure that every single video is a real person and it's the person that uploaded it and they're human. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. It's a startup, so it's chaotic, but it's great.
So what's so interesting is you're in this place where you've really got to manage between the human and the digital world. So both are important and have equal importance in the work that you're doing. So it's a fascinating balance. What do you think is the most critical element for brands and for creators to be successful and really building on genuine connections through this user-generated content with this messy digital landscape that we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what's happening at the moment, it's all happening too fast for there to be data or legislation around it. So I know that like Levi's and Guess and Vogue got into trouble with the general public because they saw that basically they weren't using real humans. They were using AI humans. And a lot of people, on Reddit and Twitter and Instagram and stuff were like, so wait a sec, especially in this younger generation, because they were like, so you skipped out basically on the cost of a model and a makeup artist and a person. And, you're some of the biggest brands in the world. So, and there are future jobs. Like they're the trades that we're learning. They're what we're doing. So I completely understand the anger from the generation that's upcoming. And I think in advertising, like content marketing is so fascinating to me because it's all about the psychology behind why somebody buys something, somebody purchases something. And so, the reason influencer marketing worked so well when it first came out was because people trusted that person.
That's right. It was the authenticity, right?
It was authenticity. And if it was, if it was David Beckham being, I love this football or I love these trainers or whatever, their fans would be like, well, I trust him. I mean, he's not going to lie. And then obviously the kind of waters became a bit muddy because then brands were like, oh, well, let's just pay that person to say they like our product. And then people will follow that. And that worked extremely well because people did trust it. Then the trust was eroded because people realized, well, wait, they don't actually endorse that product. They just were told to do that. And that's when, the micro influencers were born. And again, it did work, but the trust started to wane. And everything about advertising, I think, is trust. And everything about brands is loyalty and people believing in what you're doing. And last year, I think it was Coke that put out a Christmas like advertisement and people noticed it was AI and there was outrage. And like you can understand, it's like, God, you're $1 billion company and you still are using shortcuts. In the same way, I think for people making the content and making the reviews and building themselves up as a content creator, I don't know about you, but like anyone that I follow, they just have this authenticity about them and they're not just selling anything they can possibly sell. It's back to who they are as a person. And
absolutely.
One of the reasons I started it was because I met this girl who worked for Estee Lauder and she was telling me that when she was in college, she had such bad acne. And she said she couldn't go into college because she was just so insecure about the acne and she was missing lectures and she just was, I can't, And she read in like Marie Claire or something that there was this Estee Lauder foundation that was full coverage and it was the first time I was whatever. So she went into the department store and she said, can I try this foundation? She tried it. It covered all of her acne. And she said, from going on, I was able to go into college and I felt much more confident because it covered my acne. That's such a powerful story. As an ad, that is perfect. If you could just tell that story to the camera and say, and that's what I use, double wear. Like that's exactly what that brand wants. Interestingly, the brand wants the conversion. So the brand wants the people buying it. But a lot of big brands like Estee Lauder or like Unilever or whatever, they're still in the old way of advertising, which is very polished content, models, whatever. And that's fine too.
Right.
But I think going back to like the next generation and looking ahead at what's coming, it's a total lack of trust unless you explicitly say this is a human and this is a
Mhm.
customer and this is somebody we didn't pay. Because we all like the glossy magazines and we love the billboards and we like to see the beautiful models and all the rest. But we also want to know if we're going to purchase something, like
Right.
you're
Does
much,
it work? What's their story?
yeah,
Right? Tell me about them.
tell me.
Or you tell me yourself how this works for you. It's the same way we feel about when we read reviews on that's why we have the review system. We have to think about why these things have sort of come along, right? When you go to travel, what do? You go read reviews, you go to Yelp to try to figure out why I should go to this restaurant because you want to see how many stars it has from the actual people who went to it.
Travel is one of our biggest industries because,
Yeah.
you know, I think of my dad, for example, he's an amputee. So like when he goes to a hotel, he wants to know like what's the accessibility like? You know, is there a bathroom downstairs? Is there an accessibility shower? Can I get down to the beach? You know, all these different things. And when he looks on the website or he looks at the Instagram, it's like these beautiful people drinking champagne on the beach that are like perfect. And, you know, for us, it's like we want the diversity. We want to make sure everybody's represented and that when you see somebody's review, it's somebody that looks like you and that has your own issues or that is your age or your size or your relationship status or whatever it is. What we need now for the world, I think, is that nobody feels like, oh, well, that doesn't seem like a hotel I'd like to go to because nobody there looks like me.
Yeah.
And that's the same with beauty and cosmetics world. It's the same with food and drink. We have to see a full representation of everybody who's using that product so that new people are realized like, oh, that could be for me. I didn't realize it was for someone.
I think it's the same even for when you sell software. You've got to get people have to see themselves using it. They've got to understand that it's going to work for their company. And so that requirement sort of exists for humans in all the things that we do. Hey, so really quickly, so you've been a founder or you are a founder. You're scaling content driven businesses. This isn't the first one. This includes managing large teams. You've secured partnerships with major global brands. I want to understand when you're making strategic decisions about things like platform development or growth, are there any frameworks or principles that guide you as you start to try to think about how to maintain success in those areas?
It's a great question. And I have a partner and my colleague, Allison, and I mean, I would say I'm the seer and she's the doer. I can see the problems up ahead. I can see, okay, so we need to tackle that now. And what she will do then is make an Excel spreadsheet that's color coded, being like, okay, here's three options or here are the six options that we have. This is what this is going to cost. You know, now that's not saying I don't do any of that stuff. I do,
Right.
but I'm much more of a gut feeling person that will go, okay, and Alison is much more of a logic, risk adverse, you know, let's do the due diligence here. Let's go. Look, we've had to make some huge decisions over the last few weeks around our tech team, around the tech we're building, around like we have investment. So how to spend that money. And it's amazing getting investment and getting good investors in. The money's in the bank then, and you're like, okay, you know, we have to spend this right. We have to make sure you can, as a founder that's spending investors' money, you can neither be too, in Ireland, we would say flahuluk, like you can't be too loose with the money. You can't be like, oh, sure, like, why don't we just buy this great promotional material and see if it works? And you also can't be too tight with it. You can't say save every single penny because we don't know if it's going to work. So it's
Yep.
finding that balance. And I think as a founder, of a startup where again it's not your own money, you have to learn how to really trust that instinct that you have and also forgive yourself and know that you're going to have to forgive yourself if you make a bad
I
decision.
love that. Right, right. Because is it at a startup stage, a lot of the decisions are with whatever information that you have at the moment. And typically, if you're creating something new, you may not have a substantial amount of information right in front of you at the moment that you need to make that decision. So yeah, I love the forgiveness concept because the truth is you only know what you do, what you know, you make your decisions. Your best bet is to have an awesome change management process so that you can make that adjustment when you need to. Yeah, that's good. Hey, so as Marker Videos continues to grow and grows amazingly, how will you think about platform scalability? And I ask this because there's a bunch of decisions that go into thinking about scale. So whether or not you're there or not, let's talk a little bit about even your theories here because you've got more experience than just this moment. Tell me about how you're thinking about platform scalability, making sure that the evolving needs of both your creators and your brands is really in the palm of your hands. And not to mention the creators and the brands, but just the entire digital landscape and the pace that it's moving. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about scalability through that lens.
I really think about the blue sky, right? I think about the big picture. For me, it's like, okay, so we want Marker Video. We want our icon to be as recognizable as like a TripAdvisor, a Trustpilot, or something that you see if you're in a hotel or you're in the shower and you pick up your shampoo and it's on the shampoo bottle, or anywhere, you're in a restaurant, anything, you see the Marker Video thing and you go, oh, we should make a review because we might sell it. So we might as well upload our experience of this product or this place or whatever. And that's all well and good, but you have to get to that point. You have to get to the point that people trust you guys as being someone who's going to pay fairly, who's going to pay into the bank account, who's going to see the review and all that. So it's okay. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? You have to go one foot in front of the other. For example, next week, we're pitching up in Ireland's biggest university for 3 days. We've got a booth. We've got different brands that are coming in, and we're going to ask students to like go into the booth with the ring light and tell us their first impression of this brand. Like, what does it taste like? What does it smell like? Do you like this? Whatever. Capture all that content. Get them used to the idea of it doesn't have to be commissioned. You can talk about whatever you want, whatever's in your backpack, whatever you want. We're releasing our app. Again, that was an executive decision that I decided upon about 6 months ago. Didn't have investment at the time. We didn't really have the money to build it. And I was, you know what, we'll find it. But I think it's what we should do, because I think these younger people, they expect you to have an app and they expect it to be easy to use, and they expect the onboarding process to be easy, and they want a kind of social element to it. They want to be able to follow their friends. They want like to be able to see when L'Oreal looked at their video or whatever. So we built that, which we're releasing in 2 weeks. And I think it's the scalability is let's reverse engineer it. Let's look at the end result and what do we need for that. I always compare it to Depop because I love Depop, and I founder's great. And but he basically, again, it was one foot in front of the other. He just started very, very small, built something that the UX was really, really good, really sharp, easy to use. One of his big things was every investor asked me, how is it different from eBay? Like, it's the same thing. If I've got a coat, I'm just going to put it on eBay and I'll sell it. And he was, I still don't really have an answer for that, honestly, other than the fact that it is just an easier app to use and that young people kind of took it and
people like it, right?
So you just have to build something. I got this advice years and years ago at my first business. You just have to build something that you yourself would like to use. Anything else is speculation because you don't know how anyone else thinks other than yourself. So build something that you feel, actually, this would be something that I would like, the colors I like, the journey I like, whatever. And that's all you can do to be true to yourself, the business, your concept. So yeah, the scalability thing, we're onboarding brands now that are now putting our link into their emails, onto their social media pages, onto their website. And it doesn't cost them anything really. The barrier to entry is very low. They're just like, oh, here, don't forget to review us, Marker Video. They just leave it there. And we contact them 2-3 months later. We're like, oh, we got 150 videos. You can check them out here. If you want to buy them, buy them. If you don't, no problem. Just a passive thing that they're constantly getting videos in. So I see it growing to be this like really like, you've got the app on your phone, you get a little notification, you just sold 2 videos, good for you. Here's a little bit of money. And someone in Taco Bell just watched your video about Taco Bell. You walk past a CVS or something and it's, oh, don't forget to review your products from CVS, so it's just a constant reminder that if you're going to talk to your friends about a great product or a great hotel or whatever, talk to the camera and make some money about it, because that brand owes you that if you're going to influence even one person to buy their product.
Boom, y'all heard it here. Hey, so this message is for our audience. For the audience, I want you truly to think about your brand's content strategy. How are you leveraging authentic creator content to build trust and engagement? We'd love for you to share your experiences with us on LinkedIn and other social media. Use Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Okay, so, Greta, I have a very favorite part of this exercise. I like to understand your decision making persona. And I do this by exploring different personas, telling you how it asks questions. So, I'm going to ask four different questions. Each one represents a different decision making approach. And after each one, you're going to tell me how much the way that I'm asking the question resonates with how you might approach decisions. So you've given me some insight already into this between you and your team. However, we're going to do it anyway because it's fun. And so you'll be able to answer. It's going to be anywhere between 0 to 100%. The
Okay.
thing is, there are four questions. You only get 100% total across all four. And nope, I can't give you all of them up front. You have to answer them one at a time. And when you give me your answer, tell me a little bit about your why. So in the work that I do in decision intelligence, why is everything. Everything is why. So in this case, you're going to tell me why you would give it the percentage that you give it. Okay, are
Okay.
you ready? Here's the first one. It's called the feeler. It's a values driven leader. This persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission, often weighing the human impact of cultural fit of decisions alongside business metrics. So, when considering a new content initiative or platform feature, I ask myself, does this align with our commitment to authentic creator empowerment and building genuine connections between brands and audiences? Even if a more commercially aggressive approach might generate short term revenue, I need to feel confident that we're fostering trust and long term relationships that reflect the core values. Tell me, Greta, how much does approaching decisions by asking yourself that kind of value based question, how much does that resonate with
Out of 100 or out of 25?
out of 100?
Out of 100, I would say,
But you only get 100 out of for all four.
well, I would say that is over 50. So let's say 55%.
Okay, tell me a little bit about why.
So I can think of a few times in my career where I made decisions that conflicted, that were against my values potentially, or I felt like maybe it wasn't the right, ethically, maybe it was wrong, but it was right for the bottom line, or maybe it was wrong. It was early in my career. I made one bad decision about a year ago with the same decision making. I didn't go with my value set, my set of values. And I thought this is what a good founder does. This is what a good business owner does. You know, you put the business first, you forget about like maybe it's a good person, maybe it's just, they whatever. And it has never done me right. And I also feel, I was raised in a very good family, hugely highly ethical, and I have an amazing group of friends, and all of those relationships are a testament and a credit to how I was raised. But I think they also come down to the fact that we as the collective have very high values and ethics, and we appreciate it in other people. And so that's where I learned about it. And sorry, and every time I've gone against that, it has been the wrong decision. So I've learned. I think that type of decision making is like a muscle, and it's like any other muscle. You just have to keep using it to strengthen it, and you have to keep making sure that you are exercising it every day and strengthening it, because it just gets stronger, and then it just gets louder.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just applaud you for your transparency. One things that humans struggle with all the time is being able to say, I made a mistake. I didn't necessarily go about this the right way. So I actually shout you out for being able to do that. And I'll tell you, it'll be to the benefit of your team, right? Because if you can be transparent, then your team can build trust with you. So I really do appreciate you sharing that transparency. And yeah, I agree. I think that why you create values in a business, for example. So someone decided some time ago, oh, your company should have values that then lead you to a vision, and then you have a mission. Those things are not just for no reason. They
Mhm.
serve an intense purpose in the business. So thank you for sharing. Let's go to the next one. It's called the planner. It's a strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead and considering multiple scenarios. So when making strategic decisions about platform growth or content strategy, I ask myself, what are the long term implications of this choice for how creators and brands will engage over the next 5 to 10 years? I need to map out how digital trends, audience behaviors, and monetization models will evolve, ensuring our platform remains adaptable and sustainable. So, Greta, how much does that forward thinking scenario planning approach to questioning resonate with how you might think about decisions?
I mean, I'm going to be totally honest here and say it's probably it's like 10%. I am not very strategic. I can see things and I go with my gut, but no, I wouldn't be. And Allison, I would say Allison would be up there with kind of 70% with that one.
Yeah, that makes it. Well, you mentioned Allison a bit earlier, and it when this came up, it made me think about her and her balance. And one of the things that I'm learning from doing this exercise this way with people is that a lot of times this is about your team. You want to be balanced in your decision making, but no one person has all of these things. But based on it, let's keep going. Here
Okay.
it is. We've got the counter. This is the challenger of assumptions. So, this persona naturally questions conventional wisdom and looks for contrarian opportunities, often finding success by zigging when others zag. So, when
Mm,
evaluating content strategies or platform features, I ask myself, what assumptions are we making about creator motivations and audience preferences that might be fundamentally wrong? What is everyone else in the digital media space doing that we should question? I tend to dig into why certain approaches work and whether there's a more innovative method that leverages our unique position to solve problems differently. So, Greta, how much does the assumption challenging, contrarian style of questioning actually resonate with your process?
yeah, a lot, I would say. I mean, I know I've only got 25, like 25 left. Yeah. Do I have 25 or
No,
35?
it's more. I think you got 35 left.
Right. Yeah, I would say that would be a 25%
Okay.
because, and I think that that's not just in business. And like my mother would tell me stories about when I was a kid and stuff. I'd always kind of, and I not to be like, I'm definitely wouldn't be described as a confrontational person, but I definitely challenge the status quo in like, but I don't understand why we have to sit here when like you go into a restaurant here and you're like, well, there's 50 free tables kind of sitting, and they're like, no, because we've got, and you're like, this seems a bit crazy
You're like, but it's open. There's no one here.
here, and the kind of logical like view of something. I mean, Marco Video is the first company in the world to do what we're doing, and that's can be great, and it can also be a challenge because you're trying to explain to people how it works.
Yeah.
Because traditionally it would have been, you give the free products, you send the scripts out, whatever. But and so I think I love to challenge the status quo while also looking at why people behave the way that they behave
Yeah.
and backing that up by being like, oh, so if 2 + 2 = 4, then why is everything equaling 3? Like, surely we can get that extra thing. So yeah, I definitely would say that's a large 25% feels right for that.
Awesome. That's good. And thank you for the explanation. I think that it totally makes sense. And based on our conversation so far, like so far, we're going according to plan. Like this is really good. And I think your feeler balance with that counter probably makes for some really good, interesting conversations and could be good lead-ins for how you steward your human resources, right, within your organization. So that's good stuff. All right, here's the very last one. It's called the data driver. It's an
Mm.
evidence based decision maker. So, this persona relies heavily on metrics, analytics, and concrete evidence to validate decisions, preferring proof over intuition. So, before making important decisions about content strategy, platform features, or creator partnerships, I ask myself, what does our performance data actually tell us about engagement rates, creator earnings, and audience growth? I want to see concrete analytics that validate our strategic instincts about where to focus our efforts for maximum impact. Okay, Greta,
Yeah.
where does that evidence based decision making actually impact your decision making? How much?
it feels right around the 10% mark because
Got it.
I use the data that I know is already there based on my intuition and my own perception and my own observation of how the world works. And then I back it up with the data. So like I can find the data that I need to back up what my intuition is telling me. And that's just evidence for people who spend that 10% as 90%. You know, their whole way of decision making is taken up with that last one. And so it's usually people who are loads of money and really successful and, you know, want to invest. So they're looking at the data around that. And they're going, okay, I need to figure out whether I think you're great. Your idea is great. It sounds lovely, but I need to see if it's going to work and the data behind that. And you'll find a lot of founders are much more the intuition, the value based, the all of that, and they're just totally different types of people. So yeah, that feels right around 10%. Data is super important, and a big part of our value proposition is the data that we're taking in and that we're going to be able to share with brands and stuff. So I do not underestimate how like it runs the world. Obviously, it's just not how I am influenced by things, by decisions. But I use it and I need it. So 10% is right.
That's great. So time and a place for everything. So listen, you are 55% feeler, 10% planner, 25% counter, and 10% data driver. I appreciate you doing that little exercise with me. I love it. I think it's just a bunch of fun to
I'm
see how
kidding.
people feel and think. So listen, we're going to wrap up our conversation, but I've got a question for you. So here you are out in the world, you've helped these businesses to build, I mean, you've got your platform, you've helped these content brands, you're empowering creators, you are engaging youth audiences, right? Young people as you call them. You're really building on this concept of authenticity, and you yourself have demonstrated on this podcast that you are authentic, right? You're transparent. If you could give one piece of advice to leaders who really want to leverage this concept of authentic content and creator driven platforms for business growth, what would it be?
It would just be send all your customers to Marco Video.
Yes, ma'am. Come on.
I mean,
Sell it.
that's literally all they have to do. They just have to say, so we've got customers in all different types, but the main way they get, and this is not just a sales bit, like this is genuinely how they can do it. It shows their customers, oh great, they're using market video, meaning they reward their customers. They're not using, you know, fake models and influencers. And all our customers do is we've got QR codes in HelloFresh boxes. We've got links in booking emails. We've got, you know, they're just everywhere. It doesn't cost you anything. You just put the marker video link in and say, if you like our brand, if you like our product, use marker video. And then we might use that as an ad. It's really, really simple. So I think it's a very easy way for anyone to go, oh, that's great. That's covered. Marker Video have that covered. We don't have to worry about that content. We don't have to worry about those ads. They're coming in through Marker. They're all our customers. And we know that for sure.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your expertise with us today, Greta. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Would you share with our listeners where they can learn more about you and more about Marker Video?
Yeah, it's just markervideo.com. We have Instagram, a TikTok, LinkedIn. You can find us anywhere, but we're about to launch the app, which is super exciting. So you'll find it on the App Store in about 2 weeks.
Fantastic. And listen, congratulations for getting to launch. I know starting a business is hard stuff and it takes a certain type of mentality. It takes a certain type of perseverance. So congratulations on making it this far. And to our listeners, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want you to remember that the best decisions come from great conversations. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe it, rate it, and share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.